Hello, Steve Barsick Amstel from High Tech Design Safety here. Today we're continuing our series on training on listing, labeling, or certifying your equipment. Today with getting started. What does it take to get started on this process? How do you start? Well, you've got a product. You know what standards are going to be there. We've talked about this earlier. You're going to collect all the information together that the lab will need to scope this. They'll scope it with you. Hopefully, you've already got some information on the scope and where you need to go. If not, can help and get that done. Next, you need to be sure that there's plenty of budget in there to do the work needed or request more money if it's required, and then do the quoting. So, as you're building your product, you're going to have an internal requirements document. This is going to have all of the features and constraints and needs and everything that the product has to fit into. And then you're going to develop the standards you need against that. You can see our other video on standards like UL 60204, UL 61010. There's a whole series of NFPA standards around hazardous chemical and toxic gas handling, like NFPA 318 for clean rooms. It might be an ANSI standard. It might be a pressure vessel, an ASME standard. It might be IEC standards for the global work, like IEC 60950. It might be another standard. It might be a standard for hazardous locations, like iecex 60079 dash, and then whatever number of the standard you need. Develop those standards, and then those will be added to your internal requirements document. Next, collect up a package of all the information you have so far. This requirement document is great. Any drawings you might have, whether they're full-blown engineering drawings or they're concept drawings, schematics, outlines, bill of materials, all those things, method of operation, manuals. The more data you have, the better. That will help the lab scope your project. And as a laboratory, we can help you figure out exactly which standards you'll need, which testing at the lab you'll need, and then at the end, what testing you'll have to do in manufacturing to validate your product. That's going to really get you far along and help us give you a ballpark price so you can know what the budget is going to be, so you can figure out how much this is going to cost and get it quoted. We'll get that quote together and get it over to you as rapidly as possible. The quote will include the scope and the deliverables. Pricing, typically the quote doesn't include the timeline because we rely a lot on our clients to develop that timeline. So like if you're doing SIMI S2 or a similar product, we're going to actually need to see an actual sample of that product fully completed. That's the same with most standards. We're going to need a sample to look at and test. We'll get you that quote. Then the next big thing to do is shoot over a purchase order. That can take weeks at some clients. Smaller projects, sub $10,000 projects, oftentimes people want to use a credit card. So that can take a day. Either way, a purchase order or pay up front, whichever's quicker for you. The bigger projects always go on a PO. And then the thing, once the PO is here, let's get a kickoff meeting going. That kickoff meeting is pretty much to introduce the team to the laboratory and really begin to have the team get to know who they're going to be working with and know that those requests are going to be coming and that they should respond to them and things like that. That kickoff meeting probably will also include an estimated time when samples are going to be available and when either they'll be shipped to the lab or when someone from the lab might come on site to do that. depending on your product, that evaluation might be virtual, it might be in person, it might be a little of both. We're actually finding that doing a lot of the pre-work virtually allows us to show up and be more effective when on site. An example of that, often we have the product development team go ahead and run through some of the tests like interlock validation, main power validation, temperature testing, and things like that before we arrive, so that they themselves are comfortable with where the product is, and that when we get on site that we're going to be able to really get down to doing the evaluation and the test part. That is really how you get started. Get the information. If you need a non-disclosure agreement, get that to us. We'll get it signed and get the scope going, get the quote going, and then get the purchase order, and then lock in a time for the evaluation. Thanks again. This is Steve Barsick-Amstel with High Tech Design Safety. Really look forward to your comments on this. Please like and subscribe. I know you hear that on all YouTube videos. However, we're getting close to the point where we can really do more with a few more subscribers. Thanks again.